Right now, without you realizing it, gravity is holding you together. Your blood stays in your body. Your organs sit where they're supposed to. The air above you doesn't crush you. Because 9.8 meters per second squared is just enough force to make life possible. But what if that number changed? Not gradually, not with a warning. What if, at 9:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, gravity just doubled? You wouldn't feel different at first. You'd be sitting at your desk, or making coffee, or watching this video, and then you'd stand up, and everything would be wrong. The moment gravity doubles, every object on Earth doesn't just feel heavier. It is heavier, because weight is literally just gravity times mass. Your 150-pound body becomes 300 pounds, instantly, without gaining a single gram. That car parked outside, it just became 6,000 pounds. Some vehicles collapse at the axles before anyone ever tries to move them. But here's what most people don't picture. It's not the falling that kills you first. It's the getting back up. Across the planet, anyone who was standing falls within seconds. Not because they passed out, but because their legs, built for 1 g of gravity, are now trying to carry a load they were never designed for. Elderly people, children, anyone already weakened, they go down and they don't come back up easily. And in that same moment, something terrifying is happening in the sky. Birds, mid-flight, just drop. Not all of them, but most. Because the lift equation depends on gravity. And that number just changed without telling the birds. Insects collapse on surfaces. Their exoskeletons, amazingly engineered for their own scale, buckle under the new load. And the atmosphere itself? It's now twice as heavy. Air pressure spikes. Breathing becomes work you have to think about. Your lungs push against a sky that's pressing back harder than it ever has. You're not suffocating, but you're aware of every single breath in a way you've never been before. Here's where civilization starts showing its cracks. Infrastructure was never designed for this. Every building on Earth was engineered under one assumption, that gravity stays the same. That assumption just died. Steel beams start flexing in ways that engineers would call pre-failure behavior. Older skyscrapers, especially ones built before modern seismic codes, begin to tilt. Not dramatically, just slightly off vertical. Just enough that people notice. Just enough that nobody wants to go inside. Bridges that carried safe loads yesterday are now operating at double stress. Most hold, for now. But the math has changed and the materials haven't. Meanwhile, something nobody predicted starts happening to water. Rivers slow down. Water is twice as affected by gravity, which means it wants to stay low rather than flow. Currents weaken. Rivers that once moved quickly become sluggish, almost syrupy in behavior. Oceans don't produce waves the same way. Coastlines that relied on predictable tides are now experiencing something in between familiar and completely alien. And then comes the collapse that isn't dramatic at all. Energy. Every machine on Earth now needs more power to do the same job. Vehicles burn fuel faster just to maintain speed. Pumps work harder to move the same water. Elevators, in the buildings brave enough to still use them, are drawing power they can barely supply. The global energy grid begins running at a deficit, not because anything broke, because physics changed the price of everything. But here's where it gets genuinely strange. Because doubled gravity doesn't just destroy things. In some ways, it protects them. Mountains become more stable, pressed so firmly into the crust that erosion and collapse actually slow down. Earth holds its shape better. And the atmosphere, that heavy suffocating sky, it's now almost impossible to lose. Right now, Earth slowly bleeds gases into space. Hydrogen, helium, lighter molecules that reach escape velocity and just leave. It's called atmospheric escape, and it happens constantly. Under doubled gravity, that basically stops. Earth becomes a planet that hoards its atmosphere, which, if you're thinking millions of years ahead, is actually a huge advantage for long-term habitability. And there's one more effect that nobody would see coming. Human psychology shifts. Not because of brain chemistry, but because everything requires intention now. Every movement is a decision. Every action costs energy you're consciously aware of. Life slows down. Not on the clock, but in experience. Days feel longer, more deliberate. People stop moving carelessly because careless movement has consequences. In a twisted way, doubled gravity makes humanity more present. But here's the cruel irony at the center of all of this. A more stable Earth is not a more livable Earth. The planet becomes physically tougher and biologically brutal. The energy required just to be alive exceeds what most ecosystems can provide long term. Weeks pass, and humanity, because humanity always does this, starts adapting. Tall buildings get abandoned first, then demolished for materials. Low, wide structures replace them, built for compression, not height. Transport networks shrink. Long-distance travel becomes too costly, too exhausting. Communities become smaller and more local out of necessity, not philosophy. The global economy, built entirely around the movement of people and goods, restructures around staying close. And slowly, a new kind of civilization begins to form. Not the one in the ruins of the old one, something quieter, denser, more deliberate. But even that has a ceiling, because the biology of humans takes centuries to catch up to the physics. We weren't built for this, and our children's children's children might begin to be. Shorter frames, denser bones, more efficient cardiovascular systems, lungs with greater capacity. Evolution doesn't care about your comfort, it cares about what survives. And what survives doubled gravity is something that no longer quite looks like us. So, here's what doubled gravity actually teaches us. It's not that Earth would be destroyed. It wouldn't. It's that every single thing about civilization, every road, every building, every breath, every system we built, was designed around one number, 9.8. Change that number, and you don't just change the world. You erase the version of the world that made us possible. And somewhere out there, orbiting stars we haven't named yet, there are planets where that number is different. Where life, if it exists, adapted to a gravity we could never survive. And they're probably wondering the same thing about us.